What's up, guys? So here we are going to answer activity 1-4 about graphing of functions. So here we are given a piecewise function. G of x is equal to x minus 5 when x is less than -1, x squared when x is greater than or equal to 0 but is less than or equal to 1, and 3 if x is greater than 1 but is less than or equal to 3. So, we are asked to evaluate the following: g of -2, g of 0.5, g of 2, and g of 4. And then we are asked to sketch the graph of the whole function later on. Okay. So first, let's evaluate the 4 questions. So we'll start with g of -2. So g of -2. So in piecewise functions, we just have to locate the uh, input on the interval. So here, -2 belongs to this input, x less than -1. So therefore, its value will follow x minus 5. So here we will have -2 minus 5, which is equivalent to -7. Okay, next up is g of 0.5. Now, 0.5 belongs to this interval, x between 0 and 1. So we will follow the output x squared. So this one is 0.5 squared, or this is 0.25. Next is g of 2. So 2 belongs to this interval, x greater than 1 but is less than or equal to 3. So we will follow this output 3. So we simply write 3. Okay, let's box our final answers. Now, lastly is 4. Now notice that 4 is neither located on this interval. So therefore, at x equals 4, the value of the function has no value out there. So we simply write does not exist. Okay. Now, let's graph our function. Okay. So as you can notice, this function consists of 3 different types of equations or graphs depending on the interval. So we will discuss first the 3 types of graphs that we have here in our piecewise function. So let's start off with x minus 5. Now, this is the degree here is degree 1, so we are expecting that the graph is about a straight line. So let's label this one straight line. So if you're familiar with the straight line, it has an equation y equals mx plus b. Okay. Then this one is a degree 2, so this one is a parabola. Okay, so y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And then finally, we have y equals to 3. So this one is actually a straight line, but a more specific straight line. So we have here the horizontal line. So horizontal line has an equation y equals any constant, or y equals k. Okay, so if you're not familiar with this with the labels for graph for this equation, then we will do point plotting. So it is important to understand first the individual graphs before proceeding with graphing the whole piecewise function. So let's start with the straight line x minus 5. So x, and then g of x equals x minus 5. So okay, so let's start with, so since it's negative 1, so we will use negative 1. Negative 1, and this one is negative 1 minus 5, this is negative 6. Then we'll try negative 2, so less than negative 1, so we'll input values that are less than negative 1. So we will use, we just used negative 1 for our boundary point. So this one is negative 2 minus 5, this one is negative 7. Next, we proceed with the parabola, or y equals x squared. So x, then g of x equals x squared. So we have here, when x is 0, g of x is equivalent to 0. When x is 1, g of x equals to 1. Now, so as to not to confuse, so we will use it with a straight line. So we will use a third point that is in between. So we're gonna use this one, g of 0.5, which is equivalent to 0.25. So 0.5, this one is 0.25. Okay, next up is the third graph, which is the g of x equals to 3. So x is, then g of x equals to 3. So when x is 1, g of x is equivalent to 3. When x is equivalent to 3, g of x equals to 3. Okay. So with that, let's graph. Okay. So let's start first with negative 1, negative 2. So yun yung nakalagay sa graph natin. Then you have 1, 2, and 3. Then umabot tayo ng negative 6, negative 7. So extend natin. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we'll label this one as negative 6, negative 7. This one is negative 3. So again, when you graph, do not forget to label your coordinate axis. Then you have here also 1, 2, 3, 3. Okay. So we'll start off with g of x equals x minus 5. So straight line lang siya, na mag-start siya sa x equals negative x less than negative 1. So less than negative 1 means that we will start with the values negative 1 and then downward. So negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, etc. So we have here negative 1, negative 6. Now, it is important here that you write this one, this interval. So take note that this one, the less than sign, it has no equal sign. So therefore, your boundary point will be a hollow dot. So negative 1, negative 6, therefore here we'll have a hollow dot. So let's locate this point. Okay, and then of course negative 2, negative 7 is right here. Let's estimate. And then straight line, it is a straight line, so therefore graph it like this one. So this is the first part. Okay, next is let's proceed with the second one. So the g of x equals to x squared. So you have here 0 to 1. Now again, let's take a closer look with the interval. It has an equal sign, so therefore the boundaries are both in shaded dot. So 0, 0. Let's go back to our graph. So 0, 0 is right here, and then 1, 1 is right here. So how about the 0.5? So 0.5 and 0.25. So let's locate it here. The 0.5 and 0.25, let's divide this one into 4, and then the location will be somewhere right here. Now, as I told before, we are as parabola is different from a straight line, so do not just make this one connect this one into a straight line, make it a bit curved just like a parabola, this one. Okay, so shaded dot. Yan. Okay, now the last part is the horizontal line y equals to 3. So as you can see, it's 1 3 and 3 3. Now take a look at the boundary. For 1 it's a hollow dot, while this one is at 3 it's a shaded dot. So let's have 1 3 right here, it's a hollow dot, and then at 3 3 it's a shaded dot. Then connect, and there you have it. So this is the full graph of the function g of x. Okay, so thank you for listening.